Brigitte's nephew, his wife's nephew, but these two people who are not supposed to be in any way related look way too much alike. Is this just a coincidence? Well, you will soon come to realize that there are a lot of strange coincidences that just keep arising when it comes to the Macrons and their mysterious backgrounds. So welcome back to our Becoming Brigitte series. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Yes, you guys, guess what? Today is Jean-Michel Trogneu's birthday. In other words, happy birthday, Brigitte Macron, to First Lady Brigitte Macron. So excited to get into this, to bring to audiences who exactly is Jean-Michel Trogneux, where he is. It's time to start that part of this series. So welcome back to our series, Becoming Brigitte.
Macron have to allow her to send her doctors to go test somebody's wife. Is that not an invasion of privacy? And by the way, the people of France do not even care, and she's an American.
All right, guys, so we delayed the second installment of the Becoming Brigitte series because after announcing that we were going to air the episode on our CandaceOwens.com website, we underwent extensive DDoS attacks all weekend. Essentially, our servers were being overwhelmed. Then yesterday evening, we received a second strongly worded letter from the Élysée Palace, from Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron. This time it's a very brief letter, which we are going to show you in its entirety later on in the show. What can we say other than the Macrons sure are not behaving like a couple who have absolutely nothing to hide? So let's figure out why they are behaving the way that they are. Welcome back to our Becoming Brigitte. People were wondering with the first installment, the entry to this series, why are the French people allowing this to happen? How could they allow all of these things to happen? And you're probably wondering how on earth Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron have pulled this off, essentially this mass suppression of the press so that none of us are even aware of all of this weird stuff happening in their country. How is it that Emmanuel Macron, who was virtually unknown to the public a year before he came into power, managed to scuttle the campaign of François Fillon, the man who was a shoo-in essentially for the presidency? How did he do all of this? Well, for English speakers, it's a bit like the rise of Barack Obama. Sure, yes, Barack Obama was a senator and he therefore was involved in politics to some degree, but his ascension into the presidency did sort of in many ways come out of nowhere. Except Barack Obama was not married to someone who was more than 2 decades older than him. Emmanuel Macron, just to be very clear, and I will say this again and again, was just 14 years old when he appeared in a school play at his school called La Providence. Brigitte, at that time, was a teacher at the same school who ran a theater workshop, okay? She was, in fact, 39 years old at this time and allegedly married with 3 children. One of her children, Lawrence, was the same age and therefore in school with Emmanuel Macron, okay? So the story goes that she saw him perform in a play and she was just swept away, eventually unwilling to resist her feelings for the much younger prince. So much so that she eventually divorced her husband. She broke up her family because of this. Of course, this is objectively a very creepy story. So how on earth did they sell it to the French public? That's where we need to begin here. The answer, of course, as always, is through a very intense propaganda campaign that is filled with lies and severe intentional misrepresentations. As Xavier Poussard, that is the journalist that broke this incredible story, puts in his forthcoming book, he wrote this, quote, "To sell this improbable story, intense propaganda was deployed across all media, television, radio, and the internet. Books praising Brigitte and Emmanuel and glossy magazine covers saturated the public space. The aim was to subliminally instill in the minds a storytelling designed by the cream of the Parisian specialists of public image. This pulpy narrative told the story of Emmanuel Macron, a precocious and virtuoso student at Lycée La Providence in Amiens. The press compared him to Mozart, who won over his teacher Brigitte, a dynamic, beautiful, and charismatic woman," end quote. So yeah, they sold this as a story of triumph over conformity, right? This age-defying love, perhaps, as we now know, an early nod to the written works of Macron's favorite author, André Gide, who, as we mentioned in a previous episode, was a self-admitted pederast. He raped Muslim boys, and he wrote about this openly. And despite this, he would wind up, or at least his book would wind up, in Emmanuel Macron's first presidential portrait. Incredibly creepy. On the 14th of April, 2016, when Paris Match, the magazine, devoted its first cover to Brigitte, the readers were told that one day in her heart, everything secretly changes. She attends Milan Kundera's play entitled Jacques et son Matre, in which one of the 9th graders, Emmanuel Macron, is the hero. He's already got his eagle eye, they write. Oh, yes, he's already got his eagle eye kind of honing in on Brigitte. That's what we're told. Here's, by the way, a little video of Emmanuel Macron performing when he was younger in a play. You can just take a look at this. We can let this run.
C'est bon de renaître. Elle m'entend. Ma sœur aveugle et muette. La nuit. Qu'est-ce qui fait le plus peur aux hommes? L'aboiement d'un chien. L'ombre d'un homme.
Wonderful, wonderful, irresistible for an almost 40-year-old woman who then had him join her theater workshop in the next school year. Now, we should pause here to consider how terrifying it is that the media as an entity has this kind of power to romanticize acts of sheer evil and then to gaslight and bully those who recognize it to be so. Those of us who say, no, there's something very wrong with this picture. Anyways, no less than 60 newspaper covers were dedicated to Brigitte within a period of just 26 months. Paris Match alone thus far to date has dedicated 13 covers to Brigitte. Now, I would refer to that as sort of a psychological strategy of oversaturation, right? If you give the public so much information, whether it's true or false, it becomes immediately implausible to the average person that there might be something hidden, right? Because you're like, well, there's so much information. It becomes sort of the media bystander effect. If so many people are covering the story, then the story must be covered. It's already covered. There's nothing left for us to learn. So I'm going to now tell you the official legend that was established about Brigitte Macron in these early days by the media. It is as follows. First and foremost, they told the public that the age gap between them was that he was 17, an outright lie, and that Brigitte at the time was 36, also an outright lie. Now let's go through the timeline of Brigitte's prior life, which was asserted by this same media, okay? They tell us that in 1953, on April 13th, 1953, ironically the same date that the MK Ultra program came into existence, Brigitte Trogneau, maiden name Trogneau, was born in Amiens. She was the youngest daughter of a family of confectioners who prospered in northern France. Then they tell us that after a strict Catholic education with the Sacred Heart Sisters in 1974, when she was 21 years old, she married a man named André Louis Ozier, becoming then Brigitte Ozier, married to a bank executive. Following in her husband's footsteps, Brigitte Ozier began a career as a press officer at the Chamber of Commerce in Lille. And then they went on to have 3 children. One, firstborn, Sebastian, in 1975, a son. Then they had Laurence, a daughter. That's the one that was the same age as Emmanuel Macron and attended school with him. They had her allegedly in 1977. And then came Tifon. Tifon, you will come to recognize, is really the only one of the children that speaks out and defends Brigitte Macron, which is quite interesting. They had her allegedly in 1984. And then the story goes that after becoming this press officer and working there at the Chamber of Commerce, she decided to switch to teaching at some point in the mid-1980s, first in Strasbourg as a literature teacher at the Lucie Berger Protestant College, then, of course, at La Providence, the Jesuit college back in her native Amiens, because her and Emmanuel Macron are from the same place. So in 1991, she went back there. And of course, while she was there, she fell head over heels in love with a brilliant student, Emmanuel Macron. Now, this entire story was being painted absent any pictures, right? And so as the press was selling this, they tried to get readers to imagine that Brigitte was just irresistibly sexy and hot, right? Like she was this sort of 1980s pinup doll, just unbelievably like, well, we are trending in France, I can tell you that. Remarkably, we are not getting any fair coverage from their mainstream media apparatus. Check out all these headlines, man. They are rolling in. They do seem to be a bit panicked. We can also cut over here for the English speakers so you can see these headlines in English. I personally like the one from Nice Matin the best. It reads, what does conspiracy theorist Candace Owens' absurd and transphobic investigation on Brigitte Macron, which is a hit on YouTube, contain? I like that they admit that it's a hit on YouTube. And also just a question back to them. How can I be transphobic if Brigitte Macron is not trans? Weird. Also, this other publication that's mentioned here, Marianne, right at the bottom, they may have jumped the gun a bit because it says there at the bottom, quote, all the contemporary theories are covered, pedophilia, satanic delusions, or even false identity. I haven't yet made any claims about a false identity. Weird. What do they know that we don't know? I mean, it just seems like the press might know something that the public doesn't know, so we should probably find out what that might be. Welcome back to our series, Becoming Brigitte. So sorry that we are running late. Today has been an insane day, and it seems to only be getting crazier. So first, we're going to jump right back into our series because we left you on a bit of a cliffhanger. We showed you this side-by-side of current President Emmanuel Macron and a person who is supposed to be Brigitte's nephew, his wife's nephew, but these two people who are not supposed to be in any way related look way too much alike. Is this just a coincidence? Well, you will soon come to realize that there are a lot of strange coincidences that just keep arising when it comes to the Macrons and their mysterious backgrounds. So welcome back to our Becoming Brigitte series. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Yes, you guys, guess what? Today is Jean-Michel Trogneau's birthday. In other words, happy birthday, Brigitte Macron, to First Lady Brigitte Macron. So excited to get into this, to bring to audiences who exactly is Jean-Michel Trogneau, where he is. It's time to start that part of this series. So welcome back to our series, Becoming Brigitte. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we knew that Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte were watching this series, but I am so pleased to report that so is their surrounding cast, or their former surrounding cast, I guess. Last week, we discussed Alexander Benalla. I introduced him to you, their former deputy chief of staff, who was caught impersonating a police officer and kind of beating the living heck out of protesters in the street. Well, guess what? 2 days later, that young gentleman began following me on Instagram. I say the more the merrier, so welcome back. Hello, Alexander Benalla. Welcome back to our series, Becoming Brigitte. All right, guys, happy Monday. And it looks like people are listening to our private conversations again. You know, I'm just talking to you guys like you're my cousins and my friends. And then I look up and the media is very, very mad at me all the time. And I got to tell you, it is getting more intense out there. I think actually it's even going international. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, I'm pretty sure him and his husband Brigitte are going to come for my life because check out this headline all the way from France. Brigitte Macron, la rumeur qui inquiétait l'Élysée. I don't know if I said that good, guys, but what it means, what it translates to is the rumor that worries Élysée. So they are concerned about something, and I can tell you what that something is. All that and more coming up on Candace. Is it me, or are Christians just so back right now? I just feel like 2024, Christians are roaring. That's how it feels, at least to me. And there's no greater indication of that than last night. The Celtics won the NBA championship, in case you missed it. But I think the real story is the head coach, Joe Mazzulla. We talked about him on the show a few times. He walked around the court praying the rosary before the game. Unbelievable. I mean, when have you ever heard of a coach doing that before a championship game? And here's a photo of him right after they won. If you can't see it because you're listening on Spotify or Apple, his shirt reads, "But first, let me thank God." Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. First thing I want to talk about before that, however, is it really seems like the media is trying to slow walk us into World War III. Which has me thinking a lot about World War II, because I'm feeling like there were a lot of lies, at least a lot of propaganda, and we should discuss it. All that and more coming up on Candace. All right, happy Tuesday. True story, you guys. My lawyer, Noah, who's like, kind of famous in his own right by now, he came to town this past weekend for a baby shower. And when my 4-year-old son saw him, he was like, Noah. And then later on, he said, Noah is my best friend. I just wanted to point that out. My legal troubles are so extensive right now that my 4-year-old thinks that my lawyer is his best friend. That's how often we're seeing him. That's the level of sued I am currently in the world. But at least we're having fun. So welcome back to Candace. All right, you guys, the internet is on fire. Today, we jump back into our conclusive episode on the Becoming Brigitte series because I know there are so many lingering questions. Is Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France, Emmanuel Macron's biological father? We're hearing that a lot. Where is the real Brigitte Trogneau? Like I said, a lot of people have theories, and I think today we can allow ourselves to roam and wonder these sorts of questions. I see that there are TikTokers that are getting their accounts hit and banned for discussing the matter. So welcome back to Becoming Brigitte.
To ChatGPT to find out if people in France care, and ChatGPT said people do not really care if Brigitte was Mr. Brigitte or Mrs. Brigitte. Macron is happy, and so far there is nothing that has pointed to anywhere that an offense or a crime was committed. Brigitte knew Macron when he was 15. He had no relationship with Macron until he became an adult. He divorced his husband and then he got together with Macron. And if you check Brigitte, she was married. She's got 3 kids. One is, I think, is a doctor. Another one is an engineer. And the third one, I've forgotten what they do. But we are going to see if we can find the kids. Imagine how awful it is for you to have your mom and somebody is there in the United States saying that your mom was born a man. That your mom's present husband is gay and is also related. That's how jack shit this conspiracy is. Owens says Brigitte was born a man. She stole her sister's identity or her brother's identity. Is a bit confusing what she says. And then she also says Macron is related to Brigitte. So which one is which? Is Brigitte Mr. Brigitte, or is Macron a first, how can I put it? Is Macron related to Brigitte? So which one is she trying to push? But the thing is, this is making her a lot of money. Those videos are going like crazy. I think the last one she made when she received the defamation lawsuit, I think somebody did mention that there was a person in, was it China, that said that particular episode went viral in China. Imagine if your video goes viral in China. China has how many? How many billion people? Is it billion or million? And if your video goes viral in China, you've made it. You've made it. That is, just imagine the amount of money you can make if your video goes viral in China. She has kids. Candace Owens. She has kids, 4. Imagine if also the kids grow up and somebody comes up with a conspiracy to say that their mom or their dad did something horrible, which clearly is a lie, but will be making the person a lot of money. Just imagine how dreadful the kids will feel. They say when you throw stones and you live in a glass house, know that one day, that house will come crashing down on you. When you keep pointing fingers at people, people are living their life peacefully. The president of a country, they don't even care if, who cares really if Brigitte was born Mr. Brigitte? Who cares? What does that do to you and me? What does that do to Candace Owens? Last time she said she's saving the world by trying to out Brigitte as Mr. Brigitte. She came up with a name. She said Jean-Philippe Jean-Philippe something. That's her birth name. But when you speak to people in France, they will tell you that Brigitte used to be married to her husband. It's her husband, Jean-Philippe. Oh, I need to check this. I think Candace Owens used his now deceased husband to say that Brigitte stole his identity. And by the way, she also said the 3 kids are not those of Brigitte Macron, that they are the kids of his brother. It's just too confusing. But the question is why? Why? What is she out to gain apart from making money? How can you spend your time to make an 8-part documentary about Brigitte Macron? How? And now because I think she knows that this thing will not go to court. And if it goes to court, and it ends up that she was just spewing conspiracies, that is going to be... By the way, I don't know what does the husband tell her. Because as a husband, you need to tell your wife that, dear, look, I don't know where you are. I don't know why you're doing this. You're destroying people's life. But I guess if the money is coming, then he has to just shut up and let her bring the money. He's rich, by the way. Why is it that rich people always want to make more money? As if when you die, you're never going to take that money with you. It's going to come back to haunt her. Because are we not free to do whatever we want to do? If she was a man and she has transitioned into a woman and she's married to Macron, that is their business. That is their business. And that is the business of France as a country. If they accept, because they voted Macron, right? They voted Macron as president of the country and they knew Macron was married to Brigitte. That means to them, ça va, il n'y a pas de problème. On est d'accord avec ça. Mais, and then you have this American spending her time, but it's just because of financial gain. That is the only reason. It's because of financial gains. And you need to watch Candace Owens when she is doing her podcast. The way she speaks, she is intelligent, no doubt. She speaks fluently, but I think that is how, if you want to succeed in YouTube, you just need to find some conspiracy and make up a story and just stick to it. Because the more you stick to it and the more you make videos, slowly but surely, it will start to catch. And when it catches, you will have an audience that will listen and believe in whatever you say. Sometimes it's not about the conspiracy, it's how you can deliver that conspiracy. If you can make it sound good, if you're able to speak eloquently, people will start to listen. And guess what? When people start to listen, what happens to the algorithm? The algorithm is going to send it to more and more people. There are so many people who spend their time just searching for conspiracies. That is what they feed on. That is what keeps them going. And Candace Owens has the perfect audience for that. That's why most of those videos you see 2 million views, 3 million views. Like, yeah, guys, come on. What is our business in somebody's choice of woman or choice of man? The whole country of France, they don't care. They don't care. It's between Macron and the wife. But there's somebody in America who has decided she says she wants to save the world. Save the world from what? What has that got to do with me or with Candace Owens even? Apart from that, she's making money. Because if the money wasn't coming, if the views were not coming, she would have dropped this long time ago. But she discovered that the views are coming in. And one thing which is going to definitely cause her a lot of issues is the Jeffrey Epstein's case, or covered up by Donald Trump, and this defamation lawsuit from the Macrons, because she is now against Trump. She keeps talking about the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up, and Trump wants it to die. So the way things might happen is Trump might connive with Macron to silence Candace. I always say Candace or Candace, whatever her name is pronounced. Trump might use that against her, because she says she's not going to let the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up go. She's not going to stop talking about the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up. She wants all the files to be released. And guess what? The reason people are not seeing why Trump doesn't want to release those files is not because Trump is scared of what people might think he was doing with the girls. Because he said it anyway. He said it that he's attracted to beautiful girls. He just like to kiss them, and he just like to grab them by the P-U-S-S-Y. So Trump said it to all of us. We know, everybody knows that. How many lawsuits, sexual allegation lawsuits have Trump been fighting? So many of them. So it's nothing new. He cheated on his first wife with his second wife, cheated on his second wife with his third wife. And all along he was married to those women, he was still cheating. We have all listened to Trump speaks. We all heard Trump said that Jeffrey Epstein likes his girls on the young side. We all heard Trump said Jeffrey Epstein is a terrific guy. So no matter what Trump is going to say, we know Trump will say that's his MO. Deny. Point fingers. Claim victory, even when there's no victory. So that to Trump is everybody knows that. All his supporters know that. There are people today who are dying, who would die to say Trump did nothing wrong when he was with Jeffrey Epstein, but they never knew Trump before Trump became a politician. The only one person who knows, because he interviewed, no, two people know that. One is Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon knows because he interviewed Jeffrey Epstein. They say it's almost 15 hours of tapes of him on Jeffrey Epstein. Even the last election, not this one that Trump won, the 2016 election, Steve Bannon himself said that the only person who could crush Trump's campaign was if Jeffrey Epstein said something, but Jeffrey Epstein never said anything. And then when Jeffrey Epstein started talking, what happened? He was arrested, put in jail, and 3 weeks after that he died under mysterious circumstances. Because Jeffrey Epstein had an interview with Michael Wolff, the guy who has over 100 hours of interview between him and Jeffrey Epstein. The guy who was there, who could speak to what was going on between Jeffrey Epstein and Trump. He said the day before Jeffrey Epstein was arrested on his way back from France, when he landed in America, Jeffrey Epstein spoke to him and said, I am afraid that I maybe said too much, and I know that my good friend, that we are not friends anymore, Donald J. Trump is now president and he might come for me. And from what the journalist said, Epstein believed that the person who snitched on him was Donald J. Trump, because Trump knew everything that Epstein was doing. And Epstein also knew everything that Trump was doing. So the cover-up might not be anything sexual, or might not be that Trump is scared that people will know that he was sleeping with young girls. The cover-up might be money laundering. That might be the cover-up, because there are so many shady deals that Epstein himself did that went through Russia. And the fallout between Epstein and Donald Trump is not what people are thinking or what Trump is trying to say, because investigative journalists, they've put together the timeline of what Trump said the other day, and it doesn't match. It doesn't match. So the fallout might be something related to a deal. The estate that Trump bought and sold. Epstein was the one who was meant to buy the house, or let me not say house like it's a small tiny house. Epstein was the one who was meant to buy the estate. Epstein took Trump as his good friend to go check out the estate and give him some advice on, Michael Wolff said, on how to transform the swimming pool. Trump went, saw the house, went behind Epstein and bought the house. And Michael Wolff said he knew Trump's finances. He knew that Trump could not afford that house. And he believed that Trump might have used money from Russia to buy that house. And guess what? A few years after he bought the house, he sold the house 2 times the price. It is said the house was $40 million. Trump bought the house. No, the house was priced at $30 million. Trump went and bought the house for $40 million. And then he sold the house for $95 million to a Russian oligarch. So put those things together. A lot of people will come with different scenarios. The White House might say something, but they never knew Trump. The person who knew Trump was a person who did interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. The person who saw Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, who knows what the shenanigans that was going around Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump and women. He also said Jeffrey Epstein and Trump were going out with a particular woman, not young woman, a woman of age. And they knew that this chick belonged to two of us. You have her today and I'll have her tomorrow. He knows all of these secrets. But you get people today who never knew Trump before. They will come and tell you what they think. By the way, as I said, YouTube is where people come and give their opinions. And most of those opinions, sometimes they have no facts. Podcast studios are where people share their opinions. And the way they put out those opinions, it gets to people. Because people sometimes do not like facts. Because facts are not interesting. Facts are not funny. Opinions, like when somebody opens their mouth and spews something and say, I believe, I think, I believe, people love that. But if you put facts, like what Michael Wolff is saying, those are facts because he was there. He spoke to them. He spoke to Jeffrey Epstein. He has interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. He saw Trump when he was partying with Jeffrey Epstein. There's one occasion when he said he went to see Jeffrey Epstein and Jeffrey Epstein was with Trump and Trump was sat around the swimming pool and Trump had like 3 girls topless sitting on his laps and one of the girls was laughing and pointing something under Trump's trouser, a stain. Guess what the stain must have been? You can guess it. These are not opinions, these are facts because he saw it with his own eyes. I guess if you want to be successful, like reacting to video or doing your own, giving your own opinions on things that are happening, you need to find a way to eloquently deliver. The delivery has to be crisp. The delivery has to be good. And people will gravitate onto your platform. And before you know it, boom. But the thing also is, it's scary because once you see that success, your success sometimes can destroy you. We've seen that so many people have been so successful on YouTube that they think they're untouchable. And before you know it, you're cancer. But the thing is, once you succeed one time, it's always easy to replicate that success. If you're cancelled, you can start all over. Nothing is permanent in this world. So once you succeed the first time on a platform, it's easy for you to replicate that same thing you did on that platform and you will still make it. A lot of people who have been cancelled on YouTube, you still see them create new platforms and they pick up because they know the trick. Once you get that formula, all you need to do is run it back. How we say in sport, run it back. All you need to do is run it back. Same thing. We do it same in French. We say à reprendre, à reprendre, à reprendre. Do it again. And if you keep doing it again and again and again, it becomes so simple that you can start a new channel today and in a few months you are up with like 10,000 subscribers. Anyway, so I think I should also start just giving my own opinion on things, on matters. But I need to make sure that the delivery is good. I need to make sure that I captivate people's attention. We all have opinions on things that happen in this world because I have a life I'm living. There are things happening around me that I can put them together and see a video or listen to somebody speak, and then I break it down the way I see it, the way I understand, the way I hear, and then spit it out. Not spit it out. That didn't come out right. Anyway, I'm coming next. So locked in. Let this platform get to 100,000. Now it's going to be a must. It's going to be a must. We need to get to that 100,000 by fire, by force. You know, been trying to be too nice. Now, nice is out of the window. Nice is off. Now it's by fire, by force. We must make it happen. Yeah, and that also depends on what you guys do. Use just your tiny fingers and just press that subs button. Like, put the notification bell on. And let's run this. Let's run this again. Let's keep running this until we hit that mark. And it's possible. See you guys. Peace out.